like in a world which is drowning in stress, anxiety, and repressed emotions, finding peace can feel like trying to kind of uh, quiet a storm with a whisper, but sometimes the whisper works. And our guest, Lawrence, knows this firsthand. He's the living proof that deep healing can happen when the mind learns to listen to itself, from battling anxiety that years of therapy couldn't touch to discovering hypnosis as a gateway to emotional freedom. And he's now helping others, especially autistic individuals, release anxiety, screen the addictions and long buried pain. Welcome back, dear listeners, to another powerful episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, the podcast where healing meets honesty and science meets soul. I'm your host, Avik. So, it's just a kind of disclaimer. Everything guest shares is based on his own experience and the work with the clients, not medical advice. Always consult for sure the professional before making changes to your mental health or lifestyle routine. So I'll not take much of your time, dear listeners. Let's get started. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Avik. It is wonderful to be here. So, as you mentioned, my name is Lawrence Bartley. I'm the autistic hypnotist because I'm autistic. I have Asperger's syndrome, a form of autism. And my story pretty much is, like you said, I have living proof of anxiety healing because I had anxiety. I had it for pretty much all my life. It got very serious back in my teenage years during high school years, about 15, 16-ish. I did all sorts of things to help myself to get rid of it. Exercise, therapy, counseling, all the works, but none of it seemed to work for me. So I did not intend to actually do hypnotherapy as a method of healing. What happened was I wanted to learn more about persuasion and influence and talking to people's unconscious minds. Because with autism, not the greatest social skills. I'm a little bit awkward sometimes. But so I decided to start learning about hypnosis and persuasion influence. I went to a hypnosis course to learn more about that, and the course focused a lot on hypnotherapy. On the fourth or fifth day of the course, I ended up working with a professional hypnotherapist for my anxiety, and I actually felt in my body, and it was a massive feeling that something changed in my body. It was like this big ball of darkness just melted away out of my body. And that was what healed my anxiety, working with the hypnotherapist, not the counseling, not the therapy, not the exercise or meditation. It was the hypnotherapist. That's what helped me heal. So I ended up going back to more hypnosis courses and eventually decided there's a lot of anxiety in the world. I have the tools to help people. I could make a business doing this. So that's what I've started doing, and that's where I am right now.
Amazing. Yeah. That's really great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And um you have said that your anxiety disappeared in just 20 minutes during a hypnosis session. So yeah, and from there, like, this actually, if I have to say, it sounds almost unbelievable, but
Yeah, it's too good to be, it sounds too good to be true, doesn't it?
yeah, yes.
Yeah.
So what exactly
Yeah.
happened in that moment?
So that's because most people have been trained to believe that something anxiety takes years and years of work and that there's no way you get rid of it in like an hour, let alone a couple of minutes. In my experience working in both my own personal experience and working with clients, you can get rid of a lot of stuff really fast. I'm not saying it happens every time. And so sometimes like I offer people support sessions because sometimes they do need an extra session or two. But sometimes on that rare occasion, you can heal some really fast. I had a client who actually, the session only took like 10 minutes with him. What he had a massive problem, and he only told me this after the session. It was something to do with his wife. So what happened was I had him associate the problem to activate the part of his brain that holds the problem and disassociate from it. because that creates a separation so we can see it from a new perspective, activate in his body a sense of love, a really strong, powerful emotion. The idea being to get the bad emotion and the good emotion to have them clash together because they will neutralize each other. And in that neutral, empty space, you can start to create massive changes. To install confidence, install power. So, once he had them, I told him to think of someone that he loved. The person he thought of was his wife. And that was the person, and that was where the problem came from. So, thinking of his wife, it completely changed his perspective into, oh my God, this problem is not a real problem anymore because I love this person so much. And 10 minutes, that was all he needed. Now, in my own personal experience working with a hypnotherapist, it worked really fast, probably because it was during a hypnosis training and it was day 4 or 5. I think it was day 4. I've been going in and out of hypnosis the entire time. I'd have people working on me a little bit here, a little bit there for several days. So I know it sounds a bit too good to be true, but there's a bit of a pretext, a bit of pre-frame context that happened beforehand that goes into the story.
Mm.
So that's one of the reasons why my own anxiety just disappeared really fast. But another thing is that anxiety, yeah, it's I think it's really easy to actually help people to ease their anxiety. And the reason for that is that you think about what causes anxiety in the first place. It's a bunch of It's usually some really bad experience in childhood, something that only took a couple of minutes. I had another client, the reason for his anxiety was that uh, when he was 3 years old, he remembers going to the beach with his parents and they were walking out onto the beach. But at some point, the parents, both of them, turned and went back to their car. They left him there alone. They had to get something from their car. In his adult mind, he knows they're just getting something from the car. But in his 3-year-old brain, he didn't know what was happening because 3-year-olds not really the smartest people on the planet. So his 3-year-old self thought he'd been abandoned and got anxiety for abandonment. So that entire experience only took a couple minutes for him. So if you can get anxiety from an experience that only takes a couple of minutes, I don't really see why it would take like years to undo it, to unpack it. But that's my belief that a lot of problems could heal really fast. I've helped people with fears, phobias, stress, anxiety, and they don't always take 20 minutes, but I believe they can be healed very fast.
Exactly. So, I mean, I'd say that's wild. I mean, it makes me think like about how much emotional baggage we carry around subconsciously without even realizing it. So that's a great thing that you mentioned. And like, do you think that the traditional therapy sometimes uh, misses those nuances? Maybe focusing too much on um, logic and not enough on emotional energy.
Yeah, I mean, my own experience, I was in therapy about 5 years. So, I mean, in 5 years, I didn't really work. So, I'm a little bit biased on this. From my own experience, there's a lot of people who try to heal themselves by getting profound insights, they go on something like on X and start looking at uh, the popular posts about anxiety and go, oh my God, this is such a profound insight. This is totally going to help me. But then 3 days later, nothing's changed. They still have the problem. And there's a lot of people, well, especially autistic people, we're kind of designed to be really analytical, to really analyze a problem. I mean, when I had anxiety, I would constantly analyze it. I would analyze the feeling, analyze my situation, and constantly tell myself that it's all in my head, it's not real, that all these feelings, they're just hallucinations, or well, maybe not hallucinations, they're just, they're just my mind acting up. However, that didn't do anything to solve it because something like anxiety, that's in the emotional brain, not the logical brain. I think there is, like you said, too much focus on the logical part and not the emotional part, because you cannot out logic an emotion. I
Yes.
I think of somebody who has arachnophobia.
Yeah.
Now I live in Ireland. There's no poisonous spiders in Ireland. So
Oh.
what logic do you to have to fear a spider in Ireland? And yet there's a lot of people I know who are also Irish, are also living in this country, that have arachnophobia. They would freak out. We're like, and you can tell them the spider is tiny, you're bigger than the spider, it's not poisonous. The spider's actually more scared of you than you are of it.
Hmm.
But does it help them? No. Because it's in the problem, the arachnophobia is in the emotional brain, not the logical brain.
Hmm. That's interesting. Yep. So, um, uh, like if we talk about the hypnosis still has that old school stigma that like swinging watches and
Yeah.
mind control cliches. So how do you break that myth when someone first walks into your session skeptical or maybe even afraid?
Well, usually people don't come to my sessions until they've already gotten over that myth, because some people come to me from word of mouth, and they already know that I'm not going to do any of that mind control voodoo stuff. And some people are on my daily email list where basically I've already debunked that myth several times. Some people have seen it debunked on my website, so I don't have to debunk a lot of myths. But if somebody did come to me wondering if I was going to like do any mind control stuff, well, I tell them that it's just Hollywood. That's Hollywood stuff. And some people wonder about because of stage hypnosis, but stage hypnosis is entertainment. And the people who go up on stage hypnosis shows, they volunteer. They be, yeah, they're always volunteering. They want the experience of barking like dogs or whatever the stage hypnosis does, riding giraffes or whatnot. But they volunteered to have that experience. So I I'd also point out that it's not exactly going to be appropriate to do something mind controlling in a session that's meant for healing, especially because at the end of the day, you are your own best therapist. I'm the person who guides you to that place. I can't slay the monsters for you. I can't control you into getting rid of them. You have to make the decision yourself. Hypnosis is a process. I give you instructions, I give you guidance, but you have to go and actually follow the instructions and pretty much do what I tell you to do, but you're in control of what I tell you to do. I remember there was somebody who was actually who asked me about the mind control once because they had watched a famous hypnotist mentalist, Darren Brown, on TV. Darren Brown had a documentary
Yeah.
where where he claimed he hypnotized somebody to perform an assassination on a famous actor, Stephen Fry. Of course, the gun only contained blanks, so no one was actually hurt. But the thing people forget is that documentaries like that, Darren Brown, he has big cameras all around him. The people that he hypnotizes, they know there's big cameras. They know there's not actually going to be any danger. He's not actually going to do anything insane, because that would get him in a massive amount of trouble. So I think that's something that people often forget when they see hypnosis on TV shows or on a stage.
Hmm. That's true. Amazing. And also like you have helped people release the deep emotional pain through hypnosis. So, for those who are listening right now, who might be skeptical but desperate for relief, then what's the one small and practical step they can take today to start healing their anxiety without needing a hypnotist right away? What do you say?
Well, there is a couple things that come to mind. Uh, First thing is that there is a mental exercise that I do if I ever get stressed or ever feel any negative emotions. And this is something I will also do at the start of a session with somebody who has really severe anxiety to help them ease it off until we get to the hypnosis part. It's just a little simple mental exercise. And what it is you start off by activating the anxiety in your brain first. You just close your eyes and tell your unconscious mind to just activate the part of you that has anxiety until you feel it in your body. Then you point to that feeling. Then you just point to that feeling. You imagine what direction it's spinning because all feelings are energy. Energy is always moving. That feeling is going to be moving in one direction. And then you simply use your imagination to imagine moving in a different direction. You imagine it, you think about it, you feel it going in that different direction faster and faster. And what happens is you've got the first movement, which is the anxiety, going in one direction. The new movement they're imagining going the other direction. They're canceling each other out. Just like the guy who got nailed in 10 minutes from my earlier story. You're canceling out the negative emotion and bring yourself into an emotionally neutral state. And once you have that done, it is really easy to actually start to give yourself more empowering feelings. Because your unconscious mind, it works based on colors and feelings. So once they've got the emotional neutral, I have them keep their eyes closed. Imagine a healing color. Now, that color could be anything. For me, I like gold. But some people might like white, some people might like pink or blue. And just imagine that a bright light of that healing color just emerging through all your muscles, filling up your body, expanding, getting bigger, but getting brighter, getting more powerful, and flooding your entire body. Uh, So that's a simple imagination exercise that people can do. There is one other exercise that comes to mind for anybody who has anxiety, but it also works for worry, fear, anger, sadness, and low self-esteem. It's something I found to be very effective. It's originally a Japanese technique called Jin Shin Jitsu. So for anybody who wants to look it up. And all it is taking your hand and just you wrap your fingers around and take your hand, spread your fingers apart like you're going to do a high five. With your other hand, you wrap that finger around with one of your fingers, and then you just squeeze it tightly, holding it there, feeling for a pulse for about a minute. And people find massive relief doing this. So it's called Jin Shin Jitsu, and if anybody is desperate for help, I would encourage them to go and look that up.
Got it. Amazing. That's really, really lovely, I would say. And um, Lawrence, I mean, this has been such an eye-opening conversation. And I would say that you have reminded us that healing doesn't always come from outside of us. Sometimes it's about learning to trust the quiet power within. So, for anyone who is listening, maybe it's time to stop fighting your mind and start listening to it, whether through hypnosis, mindfulness, or just taking a breath right now. Your healing begins with awareness. If today's episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear that anxiety doesn't have to be a life sentence. So, Lawrence, if someone wants to connect with you, what will be the great medium to connect?
A great way to connect with me, I have an account on X at law_Bartley. The Twitter hand or the X handle is the Autistic Hypnotist.
Mhm.
And I also have a daily email list, which you can find at lawrencebartley.com, which is my website, which also contains links to places where you can book sessions with me. So if you want to connect, my email list, my X account, those would be places to go to.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links and the details into the show notes for a easy reference. And with this hope, until next time, stay kind to your mind and remember the real magic happens when you dare to go inward. So, thank you so much.